was never properly licensed.
Ooh.
On her first application, she was denied by the Florida Medical Board for lying to the committee under oath and alteration of medical records where she did a residency prior to trying to acquire a license. So then we learned later that when she went to Virginia, she went there immediately after Florida, filled out an application and didn't do what was required and to tell them about being previously denied. So she fraudulently acquired the only license she's ever applied for. And Virginia's policy is to renew a license just by you paying, and they do no investigation whatsoever. And this is contrary to all of VetPro regulations. The VA should have done an extensive background prior to ever hiring her. And they were supposed to do a check every 2 years afterwards. But people have been complaining about her for years and still nothing has been done. Even though we've sent certified copies of these documents proving her history of being a liar and never ever being legally licensed, this woman is still being allowed to practice medicine and run a unit where it's it's really critical for the veterans who have illnesses that could lead to death. So, but Mr. Hamilton is the first person to come to me. Since then, I've had about 11 others, and he can tell you about his own father's situation.
Yes, my situation, my father was in September 2006. On the morning of the 23rd, I got a call from this physician telling me who she was and what she was going to do to my dad. Not how he's doing, but what she was going to do. She was going to disconnect him, take him off the machine, and take him out of the ICU and put him on the floor. Now, Friday before that, that's 12 hours before that, I met with his primary physician, who indicated, we got a game plan for your dad because he's getting better. We're going to keep him intubated till the following Thursday, at which time we look at doing a tracheotomy because that'll help relieve the secretions, which he's having problems swallowing. But moving forward, after she said that, I was on my way to Shreveport, so I turned around and come back to see who this is, talking like this. I indicated to her, my dad's not terminal. Why? And then she got mad because I would not agree to her signing a DNR order. So she, like I said, got upset about it. Why don't you sign a DNR order? He's 84 years old. He ain't lived a good life. Why don't you just let him die? So, like I said, I turned around to come and see who in the world this was. So I got back there about 9:30 and called her, asked her to come to the ICU room, to my dad's ICU room. Now, this is 9:30. She's the only one on call for this weekend. I'm still there at 3:30. She has refused to come to my ICU room to see my dad. Now, she's on call to come to ICU, and she never came. And the nurses just kept calling her from 9:30 until 3:30. And to this day, after being there for 2.5 years, after my dad ended up suffering brain damage from this ordeal, from her actions, Friday doesn't have brain damage. On Monday, after her ordeal over the weekend, she takes him out on Sunday evening, put him on a whole floor by himself. Nobody ever, I had to go find it. The ICU nurse said, well, they've taken him out, but he was somewhere on the 4th floor. I didn't know on this whole floor, which is about 130 feet long, all these rooms, he's the only patient on his entire floor. And when I find him suffocating on his own fluids. And, and I think about the terrorists got an attorney that got waterboarding considered illegal. She knew that my dad having problems swallowing, that he could aspirate and drown on his own fluids, which is exactly what happened. Because the primary physician who was on the code team, when they found my dad, he said, anybody who found your dad was supposed to find him dead. Well, in this room, like I said, was over 20 IV stands, 2-man room, from the foot of one bed all the way to the window. And no monitor, no heart monitor, no oxygen monitor, nothing was on my dad except him laying in that bed suffocating on his own fluids. And like I said, to this day, after being there 2.5 years now, he comes out of ICU into a controlled environment where now they've got monitors on him, everything that he needs now, because when I get there on Monday, I get a call telling me to come back to the hospital because he had coded my dad. Nobody saw my father for 5 hours after being taken out of ICU, but he's been monitored. But you don't monitor for 5 hours. So on Wednesday, I'm concerned why he's not responding. The primary physician is also concerned why he's not responding. Well, we get a neurologist come to find out he suffered brain damage by being deprived of oxygen on that Sunday evening. So, like I said, it was a year before I even met Mr. Paul. In fact, while I was in there fighting the system who was directing me to go nowhere because they were covering up the whole thing the whole time. I mean, the administrators started having people follow me to my home because I was calling attention to what was going on. How are you going to do this to my dad and expect me to accept it? You know, and not knowing the background of this physician. I mean, like I said, she got mad because I would not sign a DNR order to let my dad die. So she got mad at me and did what she did purposely when I had power of attorney in my own hands, not hers. And she did exactly opposite of what I wanted done for my father.